Now starting the physiological effects of gibberellin. So gibberellin helps in the stimulation of stem growth in dwarf and roseate species. Okay, so what are roseate species? Like the species where the node and the internode differentiation is not there. It's like they are kind of star shaped species. Okay, the plants which become star shaped because the leaves here overlap like cabbage. Okay, the leaves overlap and there is no formation of internodes. Okay, so if you want to know what are nodes and internodes, so if you see any branch, okay, at every small interval you will find that there is a swelling. From the swelling region the branches and the fruits and the leaves come out. Okay, so that swelled region is known as node, and there is an intermediate region between two nodes is known as internode. Okay, so this is again a node. This intermediate part is internode. Okay, so this is a internode where no branches are there. Then the branches come out. The region from where the branches will come out is node. Then again this is internode. Okay, so when gibberellin is applied to the roseate plants, then what happens? They show the internode elongation like this. The condition becomes like this. They show the internode elongation. Initially there was no internode in roseate plants. Then after the application of gibberellin, they show the internodal elongation. So any plants which are genetically dwarfed, when there is an exogenous application of gibberellin, it helps in the promotion of internodal elongation. So any plants which are dwarf, which are roseate means there is no internode, and dwarf means they are short but it has node and internode both. Okay, so any plants which are genetically dwarf and roseate, say for example the members of the grass family, when there is exogenously means from outside, when gibberellin was applied, it was seen that they elongate their internodes and become tall. Okay, now many long day plants, so there were variety of plants. If you have studied the sensory photobiology chapter, okay, the plants are categorized into long day plants and short day plants. Now long day plants are the ones which in the 24-hour cycle they require more daytime and more of the light and less of the dark time to flower. Okay, they require more day period than the dark period, okay, to flower. So these long day plant have a cold requirement for stem elongation also and for flowering also. Okay, so these long day plant, when they are exposed to cold conditions, say for example 4 to 6 degrees centigrade, then what happened? They show the stem elongation also and they show the flowering also when they are exposed to this cold condition. But when instead of the cold condition, when gibberellin was applied, then they show the same effect. So gibberellin here can substitute the cold requirement. In place of applying the cold temperature, if gibberellin was applied, then the same effect of stem elongation and flowering was seen. Okay, now it promotes internodal elongation by targeting intercalary meristem. Okay, so what is intercalary meristem? So if this is a branch, I told from where the branches emerge is a node. So this is a node, this is a node, in between the two nodes this is internode, this is internode. Okay, so intercalary meristem or meristem near the base of the internode. So near the base of the internode, if this is an internode, it's near to the base over here. Okay, near to the base of the internode that produces the derivatives above and below. Okay, so they elongate like this. So if this is the internode, okay, so here they will elongate like this. So if here it's an internode and here if this is intercalary region, so what will happen? The upper part is also elongated and the lower part is also elongated. Okay, so intercalary meristem is present at the base of the internode. Okay, so this was the internode and this was the intercalary meristem at the base. This is the internode. Okay, then the base of the internode is this one. Okay, so it allowed the growth from above the intercalary meristem and below the intercalary meristem. Okay, so the target of gibberellin are the intercalary meristem. Okay, these intercalary meristems in response to gibberellin show growth above also and below also. Okay, now gibberellin application to the shoot enhances both shoot and root growth. So whenever gibberellin is applied to the shoot, both shoot and root growth happens, but they do not have any direct effect on root growth. Okay, when they are applied to the root, they do not have any direct effect on root growth, but when they are applied to the shoot, then they helps in both root and shoot growth. Now they helps in floral initiation and sex determination. Now I said that the long day plants have a cold requirement before they flower, and the roseate plants, when the roseate plants will not flower in the roseate form. When they will flower, when there is the internode elongation. Okay, so these roseate plants will flower when there is internode elongation, and this internode elongation before the flowering stage, this internodal elongation is known as bolting. So what is bolting? Bolting is the term or is a phenomena which happens before flowering, and in this process there is extensive internodal elongation. Okay, this bolting phenomena is observed in the roseate plants. Now these gibberellins have a long and cold long day plants have a cold requirement. Okay, and gibberellin can substitute this cold requirement we studied. Now these roseate plants, okay, they show extensive internodal elongation when they are about to flower. Okay, so whenever onto the roseate plants, whenever gibberellin was applied exogenously, then what happened? The bolting was observed. Okay, so bolting is due to many factors, like whenever gibberellin was not applied, then also bolting occurs. Okay, but in that case this bolting is also influenced by several other factors like environmental factors such as photoperiod, nutritional status. Okay, they also cause the plant to bolt. Okay, so the plant waits for the right stimulus to show the bolting process. Rosette plants wait for the right stimulus to show the bolting process, but when gibberellin was applied, okay, then what happens, they can substitute those stimulus for the bolting. Okay, so those environmental factors or other factors can be substituted and internode elongation will be seen when gibberellin was applied. Okay, so gibberellin helps in the internodal elongation. It can substitute several other factors of bolting like photoperiod, nutritional status, etc. Now, what happens in the bolting stage? In the bolting stage, when gibberellin is applied, bolting occurs. So what happens in the bolting stage? In the bolting stage, both cell division and cell elongation occurs. Okay, so when gibberellin concentration is increased, both cell division and cell elongation occurs. So what we studied, that gibberellin is when applied to the rosette plants. So rosette plant, when does it flower? So rosette plant, when does they show the internode elongation? So just before flowering they show internodal elongation. Okay, but when gibberellin is applied, they immediately shows internode elongation so that they can flower. Okay, so they also helps in the floral sex determination. How they determine the sex of a flower? So normally what happens in maize plant, normally what happens, two kinds of region was seen, which is tassel, where the male flowers are restricted, and ear, where the female flowers are restricted. When this maize plant was exposed to short day and cool night, what happens? They increases their gibberellin levels. When these maize plants, in the normal condition of the maize plants, the male flowers are restricted to the tassel and the female flowers are restricted to the ear. When these maize plants were exposed to short days and cool nights, in that case gibberellin levels increases. So what happens? In that case, the level of gibberellin increases about around 100-fold in the tassel. So this very high amount of gibberellin in tassel cause the feminization of tassel flowers. Okay, so what we studied in the first case in maize, what happens? Normal condition, tassel produces, or in the tassel male flowers are synthesized or produced, but in the ear female flowers are produced. In short day and cool night, what we see, that gibberellin concentration increases, okay, which causes the 100-fold increase, 100-fold increase of GA in tassel. As a result, what happens? As a result of that, there is feminization in tassel. Tassel produces male flowers, but due to increase in 100-fold of GA in tassel, it causes feminization of tassel flowers. So this is how they change the sex of the flowers. In the second stage, what we see, in the second example, what we see, say example is cucumber, hemp, spinach, etc. In those cases, what we see, that they show the opposite effect. Here what they are seeing, here they are forming the feminization of the flowers, and here they will show the formation of male flowers. Here what happens, when gibberellin is applied, they helps in the formation of, so when gibberellin is applied here, Ga causes the formation of staminate flowers here. So in maize it forms pistillate or female flowers, but in males it forms staminate flowers. Okay. So next, gibberellin helps in promotion of fruit set. Fruit set means fruit development. Okay. So growth of some fruits in case where auxin may have no effect. So mainly just remember that gibberellin helps in the fruit set of apple. Okay, if it's given, the example apple is given, that means gibberellin here has the role in the fruit set of apple. Now gibberellin helps in promoting seed germination. This part is very important for gibberellin. The biosynthesis part is very important. The internodal elongation and the bolting part is very important. Now the third part which is very important is seed germination. Okay, so here we see that seed germination may require gibberellin for one or the following several steps. So first what happens, there is a mobilization of stored food reserves. So seed, what we see excuse me, so in seed what we see that food is converted into starch. Okay, when the seed grows, when the seed germinates, that starch must be converted to glucose, because starch cannot be used up. For the usable glucose, for the usable sugar, glucose must be formed. Okay, so what happened? Mobilization of the stored food reserve. Stored food reserve first will be broken down into simpler forms. Where are the food reserves stored? It was stored in endosperm. Okay, so there are many seeds which require light or cold to induce the germination. But when gibberellin was applied to those dormant seeds which were waiting for the right kind of stimulus, to them when gibberellin was applied, then they show germination. Okay, so gibberellin can substitute, or gibberellin can help to overcome dormancy. So seeds breaks the dormancy when they have the favorable environmental condition. But when the favorable environmental condition is not there and then the gibberellin was applied, then the dormancy still can be overcome. So in that case, what gibberellin does? Gibberellin helps in the production of numerous hydrolases. Say for example, alpha amylase. So starch is broken down to the soluble sugar, which is glucose, and the starch is broken down to glucose by alpha amylase, and gibberellin helps in the production of alpha amylase. Okay, this is how they helps in germination. So they helps in the production of alpha amylase by the scutellum and the aleuron layers of the germinating cereal grains. I'll discuss what is scutellum and aleuron layer, which will then hydrolyze. So alpha amylase will hydrolyze the starch to glucose. Okay, now this method is also used in the brewing industry in the production of malt. Okay, so malt production is an essential step in the brewing industry, and gibberellin plays an important role in the production of malt. Okay, so see here, gibberellin acts primarily by inducing the expression of the alpha amylase gene. So what happens here? I'll tell you first the idea about what each and every of the organs are. So this is scutellum. So what is scutellum? It is a specialized organ and its function is to solubilize the food reserves. scutellum solubilize the food reserves from the endosperm. See, this region is endosperm. So scutellum solubilize this food reserves from the endosperm and transmits it to the growing embryo. So which part is embryo? This part is embryo. This region, green region, this region is embryo. This region is scutellum. Okay, which is an absorptive tissue. It mobilizes the nutrient from the endosperm to the embryo. Now the endosperm is composed of two tissues: the centrally located starchy tissue, which is the light colored one, and the alluron layer. So this whole part after the scutellum is endosperm. It consists of two layers. The first is the endosperm and second is the alluron layer. Okay, now the endosperm, we all know it is the storage tissue which stores the nutrient, and this endosperm are typically non-living at maturity and they are filled of starch grains. And alluron cells, they are enclosed in thick primary cell wall. Okay, they contain large number of proteins storing vacuoles called protein bodies. So large number of proteins storing vacuoles known as protein bodies are present in the alluron layer. Okay, now what is the role of alluron layer? The sole function of alluron layer is to synthesize and release the hydrolytic enzymes. Okay, so I repeat what we studied. So embryo is this region, which is followed by scutellum. Scutellum is an absorptive tissue which will mobilize the nutrient and will transfer the nutrient from the endosperm to the embryo. Now endosperm has two layers. One is the centrally located starchy region and second is the alluron layer. Starchy region and alluron layer. The starchy region is typically non-living and contains starch grains, but the alluron layer contains protein bodies. Okay, the role of alluron layer is to synthesize and release hydrolytic enzymes. So now we discussed the steps. So what happens? So gibberellins are synthesized by the embryo. So from where are gibberellins synthesized? They are synthesized by embryo. From embryo, via the scutellum, they moves into the endosperm. Now once they are into the endosperm, they enter into the alluron layer. So once they are into the alluron layer, they induce the synthesis of alpha amylase and some other hydrolytic enzymes into the endosperm. So GA will go into alluron, allow the synthesis and release of some hydrolytic enzyme from the alluron into the endosperm. Now these hydrolytic enzymes will break the starch grains in the endosperm. Now the starch grains which are broken into small molecules, they will be transported back to the embryo. So while they are passing the scutellum, they are absorbed in the scutellum and transported to the growing embryo, which will help in the growth of this embryo. So this is how they help in the seed germination, by mobilization of stored sugar. Okay, GA helps in the production of hydrolytic enzymes which will break the starch, and thus the starch, when broken into smaller molecules, the embryo absorbed that smaller molecules, and thus which will help in the growth of the embryo. This is how the seed germination is seed germination happens in response to gibberellin. Okay, so the steps in summary if I write. So first was formation of GA in embryo. Second was from embryo, formation of GA in embryo and movement of GA instead I'll write transport of GA. Transport of GA via the scutellum to the aleuron layer, where it diffuses into the aleuron layer. Now in the aleuron layer they helps in the synthesis of, they induce the synthesis of, induces the formation of alpha amylase and other hydrolytic enzymes. So number 3, alpha amylase will come to endosperm where starch grains are present. And in the endosperm what it will do? They will hydrolyze, alpha amylase will hydrolyze the starch grains into small molecules. So these small molecules will move back to these small molecules are absorbed in scutellum and then they are moved to the growing embryo, which helps in the further growth of the embryo. So this is how seed germination occurs. Now these gibberellins have commercial applications as well. When gibberellin are sprayed or when something is dipped into gibberellin, then what happens? They help in fruit production, they help to melt barley, they help to increase sugar yield in sugarcane. So what happens in fruit production? They help in the increasing the stalk length of seedless grapes. Okay, so see, if this is a plant and the grapes grow here, okay, and if the stalk length is very small, then more and more grapes will not be formed, okay, because this will be very compact, okay, because of the shortness of the individual fruit stalk, okay, the bunches of the seedless grapes are too compact and the growth of the berries will be restricted. Okay, so when gibberellin is applied, what happens? The stalk length is increased so that more and more berries can grow and more branches can develop. The berries can grow and more bunches can develop. Okay. Now in citrus fruits, gibberellin delays senescence. So what is the role of delaying senescence in citrus fruits? So that citrus fruits can be attached to the plant for a longer period. When they are allowed to be attached to the plant for a longer period, then what happened? Their market period is extended. Okay, so that they can be like whenever they will be plugged early, what will happen? When then the citrus fruit, the size will be small, and whenever more will be plugged, they will be ripened too early, they will be ripened very fast. Okay, so the shelf life will be decreased. So these citrus fruits, when gibberellin were applied, what happened? They allows the fruit to be left on the tree for a longer period to extend the market period. Okay. Now malting of barley, what is the commercial application of gibberellin? How it helps in malting of barley? So what happens during melting process? What is seen that the barley seeds are allowed to germinate at temperatures which will maximize the production of hydrolytic enzymes. Okay, normally in the melting industry, barleys are melted. How they are melted? The barleys are allowed to keep at very high temperature. Now what is the role of high temperature? This high temperature will help in the production of hydrolytic enzymes. Okay. Now this high temperature effect can be overcome or can be speed up by the application of gibberellin. So as we have seen, gibberellin also helps in the production of hydrolytic enzymes. So this high temperature process can be speeded up or can be overcome by the application of gibberellin. Okay. Now increasing sugarcane yields. So more the height of sugarcane, more will be the sugar produced in it. Okay. So when gibberellin is applied to the sugarcane, what happens? They helps in the internodal elongation of the sugarcanes. So more the elongation of the more elongated the sugar cane will be, the more sugar yield it can produce. Okay. Now one important characteristic about the sugar cane is that it is relatively few plants that store carbohydrate. Now what we know, what is the basic idea? That plants store the carbohydrate in the form of starch. Okay, but sugarcane is an exception which store carbohydrate in the form of sucrose instead of starch. So all other plants store carbohydrate in the form of starch, but sugarcane store carbohydrate in the form of sucrose. Okay. So this sucrose is a sugar. Another important plant which stores carbohydrate in the sugar form, it is beetroot. Okay, so beetroot also stores the carbohydrate in the form of sugar or sucrose.